Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode of Booked. I'm your host, Saffron Asteria, and I'm joined today by Uncle Tim McKay. How are you guys doing? How are you doing?
I'm good. And I told you, but I mean, as of April 1st, I am actually an uncle now.
Yay,
So
congratulations.
yeah,
You're going to be the coolest uncle, by the way.
I hope so.
Yeah. Oh, no, I know that for a fact. You've already been a cool uncle to the internet, so you get to bring it to the real life, which is excellent.
Mild irony. My uncle's name is Steve.
Oh, that's great. Is he
and he's one of my favorite people on the planet. So I kind of aspire to be like Uncle Steve, which makes it really funny because of the Steve,
because of evil Steve.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who is riddled with Stevel.
Yeah.
We can call him Stevel now. So hello, welcome to the people that have already joined us, whether you're here watching live or you're watching the recording. Still welcome anyway. So we have James, we have Sarah New, we have, oh my god, we've got Sarah again. It's because it moved. We've got Grant Matheson.
Hey Grant.
And we have Hugh. Hello,
hey,
Hugh. And we also have, where has he gone? We have Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris. Yeah.
And just for you guys, I did draw a little moustache on my finger because I did shave my beard this morning. Anyway, I can't stop it from showing. There we go. So, for the benefit of those who are watching this and don't know anything about you, could you tell us what sorts of things do you write?
Yeah. So, I mean, I am first and foremost a fantasy author. So, I like blending. I tend to, right now, most of my writing sticks in a world that is flintlock fantasy. So that's kind of early modern, technology level, think Napoleonic era. And I love that. Throw in magic and dragons and evil and just having fun in that kind of a world. I'm also a big horror fan. So I like to throw in dark elements. I would call it dark, not grimdark fantasy. I've had debates with readers on this. Some readers are like, no, you're definitely grimdark. So just, I guess, brace yourself. I wouldn't call, anyways, let's not get into that. But yeah, so, I like to play off fantasy though with dark elements. And then I have my Skyfold novella that's more playful heist. You still get some of my darker edge in there a little. You've read it, so you know.
Most definitely, yes.
Yeah. So, I can't change who I am. It's going to bleed into anything I write. And just having fun and diving into the power of imagination and finding purpose in play, as I like to say. Yeah, that's the core of what you need to know coming into my worlds.
Excellent. I've got to ask, because I really have no idea, what is the difference between grimdark and horror? Like, does it matter? Is it distinctly?
Well, that's actually okay. I thought you were just going to say grimdark versus dark, but grimdark versus horror is a really good question because it's one I really wrestled with when I wrote The Father of Shadow and Death, which was my first like fantasy horror. And I wanted to make sure I wrote something. If I was going to call it horror, which is how I wanted the story to tell, I wanted to make sure it was something horror readers could read and say, "Oh, this was horror," and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I really wrestled with that, and I'm part of DVS, Dark Veil Society. It's a whole bunch of horror authors. So I was pinging them all the way through. I was like, okay, so what makes a horror book, and how do I, because I'll even hear horror authors complain all the time. This is like a common thing in the horror sphere. They'll say, "Oh, these fantasy authors calling themselves horror experts, they don't know what they,
Yeah.
I think what I've heard and what I agree with is it is very much the sense of growing and consistent tension through the story and dread. Thus the name horror.
Yeah.
But it has to be that has to be the main thrust of the story itself. It can't just be a feature. Like, oh, there was a scary scene in this otherwise very epic fantasy book. That's not horror, So like with Father of Shadow and Death, I wanted you the whole way there's like a brief reprieve by design, the quiet before the storm, but other than that, it's a constant high, like just slow burn, climbing tension to the crescendo of terror, that you're supposed to feel throughout. And that's how I would define it. Whereas grimdark is just life sucks. Well, this world sucks and everything sucks and you suck and I suck and let's just all suck together and die. And that's grimdark.
Okay. Yeah. So like emo fantasy.
Yeah. Yes. That's actually perfect.
That is something I'd like, but
Yeah, it's
horror.
I've read some grimdark I really enjoyed, but the overall attitude of just bleakness doesn't quite do it for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder, did you have to change the way that you write to achieve what you wanted to achieve for a father and is it the father? I want to say the father of Shadow and Death.
Yeah, that's a good question. Ironically, I think more of the experimenting came with Skyfold. So Skyfold was a big step away from what I did in The Fall of Sylvandria. But also using new tools that I had learned and picked up on, and because I'm just constantly trying to experiment and learn and grow as an author. I'm still in my early phase, I hope. and I put some of those things to the test in Skyfold, got a lot of really positive feedback from that. And so stylistically, that was my experimenting book. Whereas Father of Shadow and Death, I felt just built on that in terms of style. Storytelling, I don't know. I don't feel like I had to change as much. It was just I knew the story that I wanted to tell, and I adopted the style I had already been playing with and told a horror story in that style. Seeing, just the way I structured my scenes and the way I structured my plot development and character building and I don't know. Yeah, weirdly enough, I don't feel like I had to change maybe because I had so many darker elements in The Fall of Sylvandria.
That's
like I intentionally the opening thrust of The Fall of Sylvandria is meant to feel like creature horror. There's some things I would change going back, but overall that's still very much what I wanted to do. Like, spoiler alert if you read it, like the character is getting chased by a deformed dragon, through some ruins until he finally escapes, and then the story really begins.
Oh wow.
But and I always did that intentionally. I wanted evil to feel like horror. So then I don't know, it just felt like that, but on overdrive was The Father of Shadow and Death, but less action focused and more character. Really focused on the character depth.
So you have some. I've only read Skyfold so far.
Okay,
my TBR is ridiculous. It's could kill me if I stack them all on top of each other.
I have stacked. Well, my physical TBR is usually next to me on my desk here, and it's intimidating.
Yeah, mine is here. The rest are like digital. But you have a ton of very cool creatures in Skyfold. Do these feature in all of your works? Do you have much like crossover in these different worlds? Because you have different like series.
Yeah, as of Skyfold, I have 2 series in the works. Now it'll be a bit before I get back to the Skyfold world, but I want to. There is a connection between the 2 worlds, so there is some, not much, but some crossover. Like some of it is just for fun, or some of it they appear a little differently. Like in Skyfold, you have Fexen, which are kind of like 3-tailed foxes, and the Fexen show up in The Father of Shadow and Death, but they're vicious and terrible and look a bit different. And little things like that are more just little asides. It's little nods between the worlds, but the actual connection, I don't even know if I'll ever actually it's already there. Some people will notice it when they get to the end of Skyfold if they've read the Fall of Sylvandria, but I've kind of done it. Most people won't, and I want it to feel distinct overall. So like certain creatures definitely will never cross over. Like the worlds are meant to be, the vibe. I'll say it that way. The vibe more than the world is meant to feel different. So I do want it to feel like distinct worlds.
So how do you, as a fantasy author, create different distinctive worlds without too much crossover? Because I would find that very difficult, because most people that I speak to that write fantasy is like one big world and they just concentrate on little pockets of it. But how do you make them so distinctly different?
Well, I'll say this. The reason I won't be going back to Skyfold for a bit is precisely because it's very hard to balance that is 2 separate worlds.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I was about halfway through the sequel to The Fall of Sylvandria when I kind of needed a break, and there was a lot going on at the time. So I took a bit of pause, and then I wrote Skyfold. So Skyfold was meant to be my refresher, my have some fun, write for its own sake, get out of your own head, and just see what comes out the other side. And a lot of fun. And I just let my imagination go wild. It was really just raw creation on the page, you know. The problem was then it was near impossible for me to go back into the sequel to Sylvandria, because now I had to reread Sylvandria just to get back in the zone, and going through all my notes and my world building, my world Bible, my OneNote, all my different tabs. And it was just, it wasn't that it was too much. I knew everything, and none of the things I reread, like none of it felt like I was capturing anything I had lost, but I couldn't get back into it. So that's why I wrote The Father of Shadow and Death, because I thought, okay, I need to do another act of just raw creation, but in this world. And sure enough, that worked, because I had a hell of a lot of fun writing that book. And then I was back in the zone. So then I was able to dive right back into my sequel, which I'm now 3 chapters away from finishing.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, like end of April for sure. It'll be done. That's like the absolute latest. Like probably a week per chapter, because these chapters are a little longer. But yeah, like I'm right there, and it's a chonker too. It's going to be longer than The Fall of Sylvandria, not by much, but yeah, which is saying something, because this is, you know,
yeah, that's a thick book.
this was about 520 something pages. I think this one, well, lengthwise, yeah, like it's probably going to be maybe, I want to, we'll see. I might do some formatting tweaks just to keep it under. Little hack for authors, especially if you use Amazon, Katie, like you have to keep your page count on, if you want to use the same overall formatting between both paperback and hardcover, you have to keep your page count under 550, or they don't allow it. Yeah. So that's kind of that's my absolute limit. I'm like, I can't go over 550.
Got that hacks. See, you're getting so much for your money here, guys.
Learning today. Those who want it, yeah.
I did miss Trinity arriving. Hello.
Hey, Trinity.
Nice to see you. Trinity's going to be on Bold and Bolding today at 7:30 EST, I think.
Nice. Okay.
Watch after this.
Well, there goes my night.
Yeah, there you go. It's difficult having friends that are doing shows, because you're like, well, how am I supposed to eat and stuff? Oh, you can eat and watch, can't you?
That's literally what I do a lot of nights. I know half of these authors on these shows, so I'll just, you know, eat while I'm watching and join the chat and have some fun. Great way to learn too, because, you know, you always get little nuggets of wisdom dropped in these chats. And
yeah, for sure.
Author, yeah, I'll take anything I can get.
We should have called this Teaching Time with Tim.
It's good.
We could have done. It's not too late. I could probably change it now.
Well, now the pressure's on. I have to actually say something, you know, noteworthy.
You have. You've been helpful already. You're giving people tips. That's super helpful. Good question from Sarah. Do you know what sleep is?
Like, is that to both of us? Because I feel like
probably
could be. Probably me though. Yeah. More now than I used to. So actually, yes. You know, I am actually sleeping very well. Thank you very much. But yeah, I do keep very long hours. A little less so now than when I'm teaching and editing and story judging at the same time, which I was, you know, early, you know, from January to end of February. Oh yeah, it's hard to keep it all balanced, but I manage.
So what are you judging at the moment? Or
well, so my next contest I'll be judging starts up closer to the end of April, but I judge for writing battle. So you know what I'm talking about.
I nearly choked on my drink. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's funny because I talk to a lot of authors who have no idea what writing battle is.
I was going to sign up, but it was too soon, so I'm going to wait until October. I think there's one in October that I'm going to do.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm a judge for writing battle, so
that's really
I do that every roughly 3 months.
That's
so it keeps me busy, but the judging period lasts about a month and a half.
Yeah,
and it's just to put it in perspective, like the last time, the last contest, the submissions were 1,000-word stories, and most of them end up being right around that mark. And I think I judged over 500 stories, just you know, through the process. Initially, you judge and you rate and you rank them according to, you know, different elements like story and
Mhm.
the story and character and impact and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And then later it just becomes duels. So it's all organized into duels, but later it's
Mhm.
just you read 2 stories, you pick a winner. You read 2 stories, you pick a winner. You read 2 stories, you pick a winner, and you just do that over and over and over, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, I bet.
Because especially because it's a round robin, right? They just
Mhm.
they get eliminated and the pool slowly shrinks. So by the end, you are reading just like dozens of incredible stories. So your
Yeah.
mind is getting blown every 10 minutes as you read, right?
Wow.
It's a lot of fun and you learn so much. Short stories are just a really good medium for honing your craft.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why I'm starting to experiment with them. I've always treated my chapters more so now, but
Mhm.
like chapters can kind of act as a short story, or they should in a lot of ways.
Mm.
But there's something to be said for experimenting with short stories too. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, if I have one, it's not really a regret, but would have been nice. Would have been nice to maybe do some short story writing before I took the plunge into a 500-page novel.
That was a choice.
Yeah, well,
You
in
meant
my defense, I did write short. I published, Rise of Dresca first, which was about 200 something,
Mhm.
and then I did same thing with Seize the Zova, and then I turned them into a big novel. So
Mhm.
I did start like shorter,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was still a choice. It
Do
was
you
also just ignorance, though. Some of these things you learn later, and you're like, oh, I could have done short stories, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that a lot actually.
Mm,
And for some of the most well-rounded books that I've read, those authors have done a mixture of different lengths
yeah.
and different forms of storytelling, and it certainly helps. Like especially like people who write poetry or write
Mhm,
scripts and things like that. You find that they have a different way of structuring their storytelling, and they have a different level of confidence.
yeah.
Um, I feel like sometimes when I speak to writers, they're almost apologetic about the books that they've written. And they don't say it explicitly like that, but you can tell there's a little bit of shyness around, like, I hope you like it. Whereas, people that have had more experience in even just trying new things or
Mm,
different ways of getting stories across to people, there's just a different level of
yeah.
like presentation in the way that they try and market their books and the way they talk about their books, I find.
It can backfire too, though, which is interesting.
Mm.
Uh, you know, and I can think of 2 examples, one personal and one just other authors I've talked to.
Mhm.
Because you mentioned poetry and
Mhm.
prose writing, and I've seen some authors who can do that exceptionally well,
Mhm.
and sometimes assume it plays well into writing
Mhm.
longer fiction, and then you see what they've actually written and doesn't always translate.
Mm.
Because and the point is that different mediums require different, skill sets
Oh, for
sometimes.
sure. Mhm.
Which even according to light now, this I think is exaggerated, but I remember once I saw a few authors get really touchy on this subject. They only wrote short stories, and they
Mm.
were very, very insistent that the skills are not transferable between short stories and novels, or novels and short stories. And I thought they were full of it, absolutely just
Mhm.
trying to. I think it was more just trying to puff themselves up.
Hmm.
Now there's absolutely structurally, you
Mhm.
know, very different limitations on
For
mediums. But
sure.
same thing for a novella, right? A novella has
Mm.
different limitations than a novelette or a short story or a novel or
Mhm.
a tome. But you know, a lot depends on genre. A lot anyways. But when it comes to,
Yeah.
in my case, yeah, so not prose, but I came into this out of all my writing experience in academia,
Mhm.
and then in business and commercial and corporate nonfiction writing.
Mhm.
Right? So I took a lot of writing courses and a lot of editing courses in the academic environment and then in the business environment, in my marketing job and my government job.
Mhm.
And, you know, uh, I knew going into writing fiction the first time that it's not, some of that's very transferable, but it impacts my writing in ways that I have to watch for,
Oh,
you know,
interesting.
like,
Well.
like, like the way I used to, you can see this a lot in Rise of Dresca. I think I wrote Rise of Dresca like a marketer. Uh,
Mhm.
uh,
Interesting.
yeah, so copy work principles and the way I would trim sentences, it came out very choppy, very overly punchy, very, very edited too much. I
Gotcha. Okay.
needed more of the
Mhm.
poetic flair and the flow. Like it
Mhm.
lacked the flow that I like you read Skyfold. I think
Mhm.
Skyfold like flows. Like
Oh,
you
it's
should be able to read it
so
in one
fun read.
sitting, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I did last night. It was really
Yeah,
good.
so exactly. That is a big change for me from how I used to write, you know? So
Mhm.
things that I've learned where I had to unlearn bad habits picked up in other environments, you know?
Mm.
I think that happens when you try to transfer writing in one domain to another,
Mhm.
it can be tough. Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes I don't know if you find this, sorry if I'm just making a really ridiculous point, but I can sometimes tell when I'm reading a book, regardless of the length, that the writer, the author, has not considered that someone that's not in their brain is going to be
Mm,
reading it, because there you get like this beautiful middle ground where there's like enough description to help me see what the writer's trying to tell me, but I get to fill in the gaps from my own experiences. And
yeah.
you get writers who give like a ton of description, or they just assume that you don't know anything about anything, you've never been outside or looked on the internet or whatever in your whole life.
Yes, yeah.
And then you get people who just assume that you're going to know everything, and then they skip past really important things, and it makes it so hard to read,
Yeah.
because I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to get at. I don't know what the point of this. Why are you telling me this story? I get you're excited, um, but that must come with experience. I'm sure there
Yeah.
are like the very tiny percentage of people that are like can do it without even thinking. But that's something I think some writers probably need to consider a bit more.
Yeah.
Is
It's hard because you can veer either way, and I I genuinely wrestle with this.
yeah.
Because like first and foremost, clarity is king. So your story needs to be clear. People need to have enough to understand and follow
Mm,
it and experience, those two things. Well, they can't have the experience without clarity. So I think clarity
mm,
comes first, but the experience you give them has to be there too. So uh how do I put this? Yeah, like you can veer either way. Early on, I definitely veered more in the direction of I don't give a crap if you can't follow, keep up. My 'cause I don't
high
like
level.
I do not like books that handhold. I hate it. I
No, me neither.
absolutely hate it.
Yeah.
And I veered too far in that direction, but I also didn't care. I
Mhm,
thought, you know what? I'll get feedback, see what people can handle, and then I'll adjust accordingly.
mhm,
So, I learn as I go. That's just how I am. So
mhm,
then the next book, I tried to do a little less hand holding, but still just a tad less, just to, constantly experimenting to find that warm spot, that sweet spot you're talking about, where,
mhm.
but the other side, especially as a fantasy author, you know, the stereotypical Tolkien 10-page tree descriptions. No one wants that either,
Yeah,
and it's so hard. Uh, yeah,
yeah. It's very difficult. In my opinion, it's very difficult to master. And
yeah,
sometimes I can forgive it if the story itself is interesting enough. I can't if it's a very long book.
yeah,
So to read like full length fantasy, like proper chunky, you can build a house with it fantasy, it has to be perfectly down the middle for me.
yeah.
Otherwise, I just I get fatigued, because I don't like having to read a lot of description, because I'm like, I have an imagination. But I also appreciate that not everybody plays a movie in their head when they read a book.
Mm,
And that's something I always forget as well, is that people's brains work completely differently to one another, and we've all had totally different experiences. And yeah, I don't know. You can't always please everyone, but
yeah.
I'm not particularly easy to please.
That is a good point though about like, seeing the film in your head, because I'm definitely like that too. I see what I'm reading,
Mhm.
but I get like I have to remind myself not everyone does.
Yeah,
There's also
just
like
enough.
yeah, there's also how do I put this? There are different kinds of like, not all description is created equal.
Mm,
What people crave from a story, like no, just because no, people say they love it, but they love it because of what's around it and because of how it enriches the story. But no
mhm,
one actually craves a 10-page description of a tree
mhm,
versus how much we crave a emotional description of a character,
mhm,
you know, versus exposition on the world. No one wants a 20-page epilogue, or sorry, prologue just talking about the minutia trivia of a world,
mhm,
right? But they might want, if that history immediately makes us hooked onto a character, or if that
mhm,
history is really interesting facts about the world that tie into the story we're about to experience, it has
yeah,
to be relevant. It can't just be you bombarding us with trivia,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if the information, if the exposition, I find that word better, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it enriches the experience, the actual reading experience, as opposed to just fleshing out the world for its own sake, like it all has to me, my writing, I try to get better at this now more than I used to be. Like right now, everything has to, gear towards that single goal of the experience. So if I'm giving exposition on something, it's not just because, ooh, fun fact about the world I created, look at me. It's like, no, this is going to impact, I hope, on some level, your experience as you journey with these characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what, that does make me laugh, because there are some books that I've read where it is kind of a little bit clear that the writer is showing off a little bit about their imagination.
Yeah.
This kind of thing I thought up. It's like, oh, you could have given that to us in bits. We didn't have to, like, anyway. But I'm terrible for that as well. I find that I don't consider, like, for example, given the description of a creature, I had to learn that if you're scared of something and you see it, you're not going to go, okay, so that's what his eyes looks like, that's what his head shape is, that's what it smells like, that's what, you're not going to take in all of that stuff. You're going to see the immediate thing and then run away. So yeah, nice compliment from Trinity, by the way. Your worlds feel lived in. There's a real atmosphere there, and it's very well done. I'm inclined to agree with you. Very much enjoyed it.
That. And Trinity would know I love her books. I'm starting an arc read of her upcoming one, and I think that's 2 weeks now, a week and a half from. Anyways, it's coming very soon. Yeah. And I've already read book 1, and I need to read book 2, which I have. It's here. It's somewhere here. What am I saying? There it is. Yeah, it's literally right there. So Unbound is I have one more read and then Unbound, but
awesome.
Trinity, I think. Yeah, with Bloodbound in particular, I felt, okay, I feel like we came into this fantasy thing from the same spot, so I felt like kindred spirit in terms of writing. I love it. It was just right up my alley. Very refreshing.
Oh, so nice. I always get so nervous reading fantasy for the show. I get so nervous because I don't always like it. I can't help that. It's not something that
I get it.
But it has forced me to read books that I wouldn't necessarily read. And it has been incredibly helpful. I think it is important to read outside of your genre just to see if there's anything that you can use to improve your storytelling, because it doesn't have to be that genre for you to be able to use the mechanisms within it. It's immensely helpful. It's been helpful to me, even though sometimes it's not easy for me to enjoy. We also have E.L. Montague. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Yeah, I just read, that's probably on my shelf now too, but I have a few hardbacks of E.L.'s novellas to read through, and I just read through the first that I have from him of the Magi. Why am I doing this to myself right now? I just finished it the other day. Come on. I'm so sorry, E.L.
Should we come back to you?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I had it though. Anyways, great. There it is. Toll of the Magi. It was just the first word was killing me. Yeah. So just a very fun read. Big cats. That's all you need to know. Just big scary cats.
That's cool.
Wonderful. Like greatest part. Like E.L. is one of the very first authors I connected with in this community, and he knows his stuff and he can write well. It's just fun. You meet the people you meet, and kind of like you said, getting out of your comfort zone too. Though other authors I've connected with, it helps me to go out of my comfort zone and learn new skills, because everyone writes so differently.
For sure.
And then my editing and my contest judging constantly expose me, because someone will reach out to me and, hey, you're an editor. Do you edit this? And I'll be like, yeah, why not? There are ones I'll say no to if I just don't feel it's in my skill set, and I limit myself to line and copy editing anyway, so I don't have to worry on the developmental side. But like, I don't want to miss out on stylistic differences that are specific to a genre. And I also do want to be able to catch if there are things like inconsistencies or things that will be jarring to a reader of that genre. I can specifically say, okay, this is this is off. So I'm careful, but I do try to edit out of my wheelhouse. And it's refreshing, because you pick up on things that you can then bring back. Like, I like fantasy because it's versatile.
Incredibly, yeah.
So you can have fantasy, you can have sci-fi elements in a fantasy world. You can have, different technological eras. You can have. I just saw someone else the other day saying, "Oh, we need more crime fantasy books, or we need more, like detective in fantasy worlds." I was
Oh,
like, "Oh, like that's the point. You can do a lot." So
yeah.
yeah, like so I feel like I can cheat. I can use other genres and then plug them into my worlds anyway. So I'm constantly just borrowing.
At the end of the day, it's fiction. You can do what you want.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah,
it doesn't. You can say fuck the conventions and do whatever you like, but it is, yeah, it's definitely a very versatile genre to play around with.
yeah.
Well, we've just been joined by HM Reed as well. Hello.
Oh, hey, hey.
Nice to see you.
Howdy, Mook.
Yeah. And okay, as an editor, you might have to think about this. You might not. What is the most difficult genre, Sarah? What's the most difficult genre for you to edit? Or challenging?
Well, of those that I've had, I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. I had one kids book. Like it was, preteen, I think was roughly the age range it was aiming for. And that was tough, but in a fun way. And I loved, those are the books that got me hooked. So it was very fun to edit, but it meant, I think for the author as well, it was a change from their usual prose style. So part of it is just, if I can effectively adapt to their style of prose, because then that's how I tailor my comments and I tailor my suggestions to an author's style. So I have to be able to adapt it, and I have to be able to enjoy it enough to follow it. And yeah, so that was tougher, not because it was great, really well written, really fun, but just it was not something I had read in a long time. So I had to, I haven't had anything too challenging. Maybe the exception is really, 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 this has only happened maybe once or twice. I used to do free chapter edits on X.
Oh.
Or just say, hey, who wants a free chapter edit? I do it now when I have time, but these days like not as often as I'd like. Yeah. But I remember once I did like 30 chapters for people, and that adds up very quickly. So that was a lot of work. But one of them I remember, it was very, 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 very purple, but without being excessive. It was more just very rich, very verbose, and exceptionally well written, to such an extent that I had their grammar, everything about it was perfect, spotless. I caught three things. Two were small errors, easy to fix, and one was more like, I even said in my comment, I think this is subjective, so just take it with a grain of salt. Do what you want. Honestly, if you like it as is, you're good. If you catch what I'm saying too, change it, and here's maybe something you could do. But it was basically spotless. So I flat out said to them, like, you don't even need me. Like, it's the only time I've ever said that. Usually someone submits a chapter, I can go to town on it, but this was so it is kind of like, what do you do if someone says, oh, can I hire you as an editor? Like, it's why I always check. I make sure I know who I'm dealing with, because I want to be of service. I would never want to waste someone's time or money, if I can't help them. And this was the first time I've met someone where I'm like, I can't help you, like, get out of here, good for you, but find someone better.
What a skill.
Yeah.
I have another editing related question from Trinity. Do you find it more challenging to edit when you're really immersed in the book?
I'm careful of that, because I've definitely had, on the rare occasion, I'm usually, I don't know, my mind gets into two different zones. With editing, it's a very specific. I'll step away if I catch myself just zoning in and reading too quickly or too immersed. I'll usually step back, and I limit myself to how much I'll edit in a day just to avoid that. Because that is a danger. Like, it would absolutely, you don't want to glaze over. So a boring thing can be hard to edit too if you're just glazing through it.
Yeah.
And but usually then that means there's a lot of work to do. So that work keeps you engaged. Something really, like, one book I edited not too long ago, last year, so long-ish, but exceptional, and really, I was hooked. I loved it, but I would catch myself, and I would say, oh, I just read 2 pages without catching anything. I better stop, go back. And then I would realize, oh no, it just was that good. There was nothing to catch. Great, but at least, cool. Like, I'm careful. Like if I catch myself going long stretches without commenting or making any track changes, then I'm like, ooh, I better double check. So I'm pretty religious as an editor in that sense, that I'll make sure I haven't gotten too lost in the pages, because it can happen.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I don't know if I'm.
That's part of the job, though, right? Like.
Oh yeah, I suppose that's why you get paid.
Yeah.
We also have EL Lyons. Hello.
Hey, yeah.
Who has gotten a couple of people that don't need her.
Yeah.
While EL Lyons is around, we may as well drop a little mention of Fantasy for Sale. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that? This new thing that's going on.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like we said something earlier too, and it came to mind, but now the connection's gone. Anyways, yeah. It's so funny that how this started, because it was just, spur of the moment, and April Fool's was coming up, and that just lined up hilariously well.
Yes,
because the three of us who are heading it, you've got Matt Falcon, myself, and freaking EL Lyons, just the absolute best. And when Matt first proposed it, I think it was half a joke, but we, I'm with DVS already, Dark Veil Society, and so I've seen firsthand like just how great and supportive groups like this can be. Now I'm with DVS for horror, but I also write fantasy, and predominantly fantasy, and I felt it was hard to find something like this. And then Matt, out of the blue, without me saying anything, comes and says, "Hey, what do you think about? I've been thinking about starting a fantasy group, And I was thinking, and then he drops a joke about, for fuck's sake." And
hilarious.
Yeah, and that's how he came up with Fantasy for Sale. He was like, yeah, because then we can talk about books that are for sale on a website. And, this half-assed joke between us, and I said, oh, if you do this, I'm there right away. Do it now, please. And Matt, being Matt, was like, challenge accepted.
Oh, he loves a challenge.
Yeah. So next thing you know, in the span of very little time, but with a lot, Matt being, the hard worker that he is, and the genius on the tech side, and website design and search engine optimization, all that. I love it. I love working with someone who has a marketing mind like that. Very fun. And then, and we immediately said, okay, EL needs to be in on this because, she's the best, and knows the whole fantasy community, and we both love her. Another one of the very first authors I connected with, and Starlight Jewel is just, I love the way it's written. I would put EL Lyons and Trinity Cunningham basically my two favorite fantasy books in the indie community. They're just that's my style. I just love it. I could eat those books up, so no brainer. And that's why I thought of it earlier too, because Trinity's in the group as well. There we go. So it was a very, very quick process from there, just saying, okay, who can we invite to this? Who would say yes? And we joke about it that we were shocked by how many did. And then on April 1st, we dropped the news to everybody, and just to see how many people would believe it too, because the initials are literally FFS, which is just half the fun. We want you to be thinking of fantasy the next time you drop a "for fuck's sake" on someone. That's perfect. Yeah, and it's just been great. We're closed for now because the numbers skyrocketed so quickly, and we want to kind of solidify everything. You can go on the website now to see what it looks like and the general idea. We're going to keep fleshing it out. The Discord's a ton of fun. Place where we all just connect and bounce ideas off each other, let each other know where we're at in our writing, let each other know what projects are coming up that we can support. That's the big thing, is like social media is great for starting off, but you very quickly get lost in the algorithm, and it's so I have authors who I interact with almost daily, and I still won't see their posts sometimes. And usually when it's most critical, like, oh, I have a new book out, don't find out for another week, So this just gives you a way to I find, like smaller communities like this, just a really great way to engage with other authors, keep growing. I'm sure.
I just saw that. So we had James ask whether they could join FFS, and apparently you guys are closed for submission.
Yeah, so for now, that's the thing. We kind of anticipated, because every group that I've seen start up This
Mhm.
always happens. You get a flood of people saying, "Oh, can I join?" And I get it. And I,
Mhm.
like I've been turned away from a few myself. So it's part of the game. It's
Mhm.
part of, and it makes sense. You don't want to grow too fast and then
Yeah.
lose the ability to manage. I've also been there on my own group without context. I've started groups that have then totally collapsed because I
Mhm.
grew too big to, without
Yeah.
knowing. So we're trying to do it right. We're trying
Mhm.
to make this a resource that everyone involved can get the most out of. And then like we're still engaged with everyone on social platforms,
Yeah.
like X for me predominantly, but
Mhm.
like this isn't just for us to support each other. We want to support like all our fantasy friends and
Mhm.
keep building out, and it's a place for us too. I think the plan is to like our own reviews of books we're reading, so it's a place for us to support others outside the community as well.
Mhm. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, like
Oh, so
it's
wholesome.
early days, so the goal, I don't think we're going to stick at just this size long term. It's just for
Mhm.
now we've put a stop just so we can take a
Take
breath.
stock. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good shout because I mean, when I started Idiosyncrasy, it wasn't supposed to be like a community
Mm.
thing. It was more just like trying to get people involved, and that grew too fast, like
Yeah,
it grew too fast,
exactly.
and I was like, oh my god, I need to take this fucking website down. It's going back up at the end of April, but yeah, it then becomes unmanageable, and then what's the point? What are you
Yeah.
doing? It's just another thing for people to look at once in a while. But for it to be successful, you need to have people engaged with it and actually working towards it being a success. And if everybody's not pulling their weight, it doesn't help because everybody else is pulling the shared weight and blah blah. We also have two more people that have joined us. Oh my goodness, Tim's bringing the masses. So is it Eamon? I
would say
will read
Eamon,
it
but
as
I
Eamon
always
Holmes, and I forget that your name is Eamon Bradley because I call you Eamon Holmes, and that is not that is a dude from England who presents morning television. And we have Mark.
Mark. There we go. Obligatory. Yeah.
And thank you,
Eamon.
Eamon. I think it's Eamon.
I always say Eamon, but
Yeah.
I feel like, and Eamon and I have talked before, and he told me, and I second guess myself every time.
Yeah.
So I should know, but I always just say Eamon because
Yeah.
it could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong on that, and if so, I apologize. But I'll probably still end up calling you Eamon.
It could be pronounced like
Eamon. I don't.
We just don't know.
Great guy, anyway. That's all we need to know. We can't say his name, but we love him.
Yeah,
there we go.
He's a good dude. And he's going to be on the show in a few weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and Mark too, awesome guy, and he just read Skyfold as well again.
Nice.
That was kind of a day maker right there. So
that's nice.
Anyways, great guy. Does so much for the community too. So
everybody that is watching now, again, whether you're watching the recording or you're watching live, is a legend. Because you're getting involved, and that's super important. It's the only way. Well, it's like the main way of getting the word out there. You can't just be on social media all the time. Sometimes you have to actually interact with people, which sucks. But I'm enjoying this. I like this thing, but the outside of the one-on-one conversations, I find them deeply uncomfortable. I don't like them.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done as many of these, in the last little while, and I miss it. And this is exactly why, because it gives you a chance to actually connect and have a real conversation, go a little deeper. But
for sure, it's
time.
so important. Yeah, it's not easy. I don't know. I had to think about this because I did that talk for the writer's workout.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give people advice about like how to find readers, but without having to go on social media because it's so unpredictable and they change everything all the time. I mean, you have got like a good thing going, but they'll change the algorithm and then you'll have to figure it out all over again.
Oh, and I've had to multiple times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's never a guarantee. Some people, it's funny. I always laugh when I get little hints of people being jealous of like my follower count. Because I will get that sometimes. Sometimes be like, oh, I know, just little offhand comments. I'll be like, likes ain't cash. Okay. So, and I don't like just settle, like, even it doesn't matter. It's just, that's not a predictor of success. Certainly not as an author. At the end of the day, learn the skills. There are skills involved with, marketing and social media. But it really comes down to a lot of luck and a lot of time and work that if you don't have, don't be jealous because, like, use what you have to the best of your ability. I'm
Mhm.
lucky in some ways to have the resources that I do to
Mhm.
invest in this, but then there are other drawbacks where I haven't had some of the experiences that other authors have that I wish I did because I would be ahead of where like we
Yeah.
all use what we have.
Mhm.
And social media is so unpredictable. Whereas some of the same authors who express jealousy towards me on the social media side, they have these booming newsletters and
Mhm.
they have consistent, email input, or they are part of other communities that are doing very well. Like
Mhm.
just yeah, it's all about perspective.
It
Because
is.
yeah,
Yeah, it is. I don't know. That's what I always dog on social media, even though I'm a part of it, and it's just largely because it's not the same. It's not the same as it used to be.
Mm.
It just isn't. Even like 2 years ago,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
completely different. Like I don't like. I mean, it doesn't help that there's always doom and gloom going on in the news and all that sort of stuff, because that kind of overrides it. Because misery loves company. But
Yeah.
I think something that I wish people did more of is look at their local physical communities if they can.
Mm.
If that's something that you have access to, is look for local bookstores and look to get your books in libraries. Like you can have events for free. A lot of places will
Yeah.
be glad to host you. And I don't know. I know that people have different access to different things, and that's but try and think outside the box. And also, if you're not having success on social media, stop doing the same thing over and over again. I
Yeah.
see people doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and they're like, nobody's bought my book, and I'm like, because you're not doing anything different.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, I'm sorry, I need to get off my soapbox before I turn inside out. Hello, Jose. That's
Hey,
nice.
Jose.
Um,
PBS.
yes,
Another
your
great
PBS
PBS
fan.
copy.
Love to see it. Oh, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I need to wind my neck in. So something I wanted to mention before we sort of move towards the end of the show is that there is going to be a special episode of Booked coming up on the 24th of April at 2 p.m. CST. So I had I'm going to start again because that wasn't going to make any sense. The lovely Sarah Arnu, the Womble Fiddler Extreme. I don't know what. I don't think she'd want me to call her that. I'm sorry, Sarah. I don't know why I said that. We're live. I can't change it now. Sarah is going to be hosting a special edition of Booked, and it's going to be called the Booked Selection Box. So during this show, I'm not going to reveal the other people that are in it. I'm just going to mention you, Tim, because you have signed up for this. So that's your fault.
Yep.
But there is going to be a set list of authors that are going to be doing readings. So on the 24th of April at 2 p.m. CST, please tune in to the Book Selection Box to hear Tim doing a reading along with some other awesome writers. The lineup is so good.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. It's going to be so good. Have you already... I'm sorry. I don't know why I called you that. I'm so sorry. I lost the plot. I'm going to cry. I'm so sorry.
The Wombles and I are taking you to court. Yep.
Sarah is acting as the Womble's lawyer.
Yep.
I can't wait until someone of actual authority catches us talking about the Wombles like this, and then I get a cease and desist or something. Anyway, so yeah, what kind of thing are you going to read? Are you going to read something that you've already published? Are you going to read something new? Don't tell us exactly what it is, but just give us a...
Yes, I won't tell, but I have options, so I'm still wrestling. I'm still deciding. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, no, it's just if I was good, I said this I think before we went live, but if I was good, I'd be ahead of where I am right now in my writing. And I might have had a short story I'm working on done, and then I could have read that. That's not going to happen. So it's probably it could be the opening to a novella that I've half written. I have a novella that's going to be coming out later this year.
Cool.
That's another horror. That one's horror. It's not Skyfold style. This one's going to be it's actually set before The Father of Shadow and Death. It's like a prequel to the prequel, which is really funny. But
nice.
It's dark. It's like I'm very excited. And it's a bit of a tribute to Janelle Shiki, who I love as well.
Love her so much. Auntie J.
Yeah, so I don't know, because I love that. I love super kind horror authors. Makes no sense, but there are so many of them, you know?
Yeah. There's a ton of them.
So
it's
that was
nice one you have to watch out for.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. So something she wrote that I kind of played with, and I mentioned this to her that I was going to do this. So yeah, it was going to be a short story, and I decided no, this needs to be a novella. So I could read the intro to that. I might, but if not, it'll be something from probably either Skyfold or The Father of Shadow and Death. We'll see.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, what am I missing? Yeah.
You're not missing anything. I can't believe I called Sarah that. Oh, she's never going to let me live that down. I'm so sorry. Nothing's been proven.
The best part is while you're laughing like this, you're holding up your finger with the big scratch on it.
That's unintentional. Oh my goodness gracious me. Oh, I need to move on before I say something else I regret. So we're coming to the end of I'm so sorry.
That's great.
Oh god, that's gonna haunt me for the rest of my life.
I love it.
Oh my god. Might have to design a horror story around it or something. Oh goodness. Okay, get it together, Saffron. So there are always two questions that I ask every author at the end of each show. If anybody has any questions for Tim, now is the time to ask them. Please stop it in the chat. Now is the time to ask Tim. Woo. Okay, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I might have to. It did help significantly. Yep. Thank you very much. I appreciate the suggestion. I can't guarantee I'll do it every time, but maybe when someone has a beard that I stop it. If somebody has a beard that I feel jealous of, then I can always do a little moustache. Or maybe I won't shave. We can have a beard off. That'll be fun.
Terrible.
So the second to last question I'm going to ask you is, as a writer, what does success look like to you?
Yeah, I love this question, but I also feel like I have the wrong answer.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it. It can't be anything worse than what I've said.
Well, no, it's just okay. So I guess my answer is twofold. The short and the long. The short version is I do it for the fulfillment. I do it because I love writing. I do it because I enjoy the process of learning this skill and the daily exercise. I may not write daily, and I do that intentionally. I'll do other things, but it's always related. I make sure every day I do something that pushes me forward in terms of this author thing I'm doing. But like that I could do that, and I will do that regardless till the day I die, or till the day I just can't. But even then I'll still be living in these worlds in my head. So that that's not success, because that's just me being me, So forgive me if I don't give the traditional answer of, success to me is just feeling wonder. No. I want to succeed. I want to kick ass. I want 1 million reviews, and I want to live off of this and do this full time. My metric of success is, am I succeed? Have I grown as an author to such a point that people get the experience I want? Are they going to, is this going to leave a lasting impression on them? Is this something that's going to be so impactful for them that they want to share it with others, so then it spreads? I want my book in every fantasy reader's home. I want my book in every I want horror authors to be like, well, I hate fantasy, but you know what? Tim's is so damn good, I have to have it. Like, I want to keep going until, forgive me for, I want that. I'm going to keep going until I get there or die trying.
There is nothing to forgive. You have to have your own measure of success. Otherwise, what's the point in doing anything?
Yeah.
There has
to be. I want the money and the glory and all that stuff you're not supposed to want, but yeah.
Everybody wants that. They're just too afraid to say anything.
Exactly.
Like, I do feel like there are different levels of feeling satisfied and feeling as though you've been successful. Like finishing the book, that's the level of success. Getting it out there, that's a level of success. Making improvements to your craft, that's a level of success.
Yeah.
Like the ultimate level of success is like, yes, I've absolutely fucking made it. Of course.
And that's the thing. There's the two parts of so like the smaller one is what I get to do every day, and I celebrate those little wins every time I hit them. Like when you put a book out, nothing beats that feeling, and when you get a new sale, nothing beats that. And then when you get a review, like Mark's the other day, Like, oh, day made, or all those little wins, they stack up and they make it that much easier to keep going, to push through, because there's the lows as well. You have to be ready for those,
Yeah.
And you find it in you to keep going and to find fulfillment in the journey itself. But then, you also have to have the end in mind too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's a good driver, especially if you're having like a rough day, or if you can't output what you want to output, because some people don't feel satisfied unless they've like put words on a page. I'm not one of those people.
I'm not one of those
very
people
much
either.
Like, if this book gets finished, then I'm gonna I'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am so sorry, Sarah. I don't know if I could ever forgive myself if I'm being you'd be well within your right to take me to court. I get it. Okay, we have some questions in the chat. I'm not going to put them all up because some of them are rude. Okay, so we have Grant. Do you have a favorite mythical creature, and why not wolves? It might be wolves.
Why not wolves? No, it's not as much. I like wolf themes, and I like tying a wolf somehow into my stuff. So far, I always have, just as part of that is a nod to a central theme in my first book. But yeah, and actually part of the wolf thing is a nod to the never-ending story. So that's part of where that
I love that.
Yeah. What's the Gorm? The bad wolf, the evil wolf in that. I always forget the name.
I only remember
that scared the living shit out of me as a kid. And so that's literally all that comes from. It's just like that wolf scared the hell out of me, and I need that in my psyche. It bleeds into my books. That's all.
I love that. That's
that's why I chose a wolf as like the image of just pure freaking evil in my Draymare world, in Sylvandria and the Father Shadow and Death. Yeah.
I have to point out, Grant, I don't want to be a dick or anything, but wolves aren't mythical.
They aren't, yeah. So I've got my mythical version, but okay. Actual mythical beast, that would be my favorite. If I can't say dragon, which is too...
You can't say dragon?
You can't. It's just everyone likes... Well, everyone should like dragons. So when people are like, oh, there are too many dragons, I don't like dragons. Like, shut up. I just...
Have some whimsy.
I love dragons. Just don't. I'm doing it. My next novel, so after my 2 short stories, then a novella, and then my next novel is a dragon horror.
Sweet.
It's going to be fun. And that's one I promised to Matt Falcon, actually. So that's coming. And it is... Yeah, without getting into specifics, there are character names that are specifically making fun of him and then having fun with him and then complimenting him. It's a hilarious tribute, and you're going to like it. Your name comes up too. But I'm not saying anything beyond that. Yeah.
Oh, it's so exciting.
Yeah. It's going to be good. But okay, no, but maybe griffins. If I had to put dragons aside, it would be griffins. I like griffins. All
right. Answer accepted. I missed Mike. I'm so sorry. Hi, Mike. If you're still here, hello.
Hey, Mike.
And again, if you missed it before,
did he say griffins? I didn't see that he had said that.
Wait, what?
Mike said, "Don't you dare say griffins."
Should have been louder, Mike.
Yeah, too late.
There were too many thingies going on. Lots of thingies. I'm skipping some of these because they're rude.
You can't say dragon from E Alliance.
Oh my god! Hang on.
Yeah.
No, but I know I'm not drinking whiskey. I'm drinking a cola flavored drink.
I should be drinking whiskey, but I'm just having a late day coffee. So.
Oh, yeah, I love a coffee.
I really like coffee. Today's been bad. I've probably had way too much coffee today. But.
That's only a thing if you can start seeing smells and hearing colors.
I'm not. So you know what? That's fair. I'm feeling fine.
I'm sorry about my dog. She wants to be a part of this, and I said no. You can't read or write. Okay, so. Oh, hello. We also have somebody else. Hello, A. Campbell.
Hey.
See you. I'm trying to figure out which ones are questions or which ones are just comments that are being sassy, because there's so much sass going on in the chat today.
It must be. I attract a sassy crowd. Let's put that.
You do. You're super nice, but you've got some sass to you, and I quite
absolutely.
I love that very much. And we also have Steve Stark. Hello.
Hey, Steve. Yeah, Steve said he was coming. Awesome.
That's so cool. Is my dog a mythical creature of legend? No, she's just got anxiety. She has to take medication because she's anxious. There you go. That is not mythical. She's just a sad case. Anyway, so my final question that I always ask at the end of every show is, if you could go back to a time when you first started writing, let's go with fiction, because I know that you've had a lot of experience with different methods of writing. When you first started writing fiction, if you could give yourself any advice, what would you give?
Well, I think I've mentioned this before on other shows, but when I first wrote fiction, I was at 10 years old.
Oh.
And I made it about a page in. I showed it to my best friend at the time, and I say at the time intentionally because of what followed. I'm kidding. Great guy. Anyways, but he looked and he said, at 10, I think, yeah, we were 10 years old, and he said this. He used this word at the time, which made it sting more because I didn't know what it meant. He said, too derivative. It's like, what's derivative? And I looked it up, and I was like, oh.
What school did you go to?
Catholic.
Okay. That'll do it.
That'll do it. Anyways, it was one of those, if I have any regret, anything I could have learned, I should have just, he wasn't wrong, because what 10-year-old doesn't write derivative things? Lord of the Rings came out that year, of course it was derivative, like that was the first, like, anyways, that's a whole other story. But what I needed to hear back then, that it took me the rest of my childhood and most of my adult life to realize, learn as you go. I stopped because I assumed that this writing thing was this thing you either had or you didn't.
Yeah.
This talent that you're born with or you're not. And I remember someone in our class that same year, she had just written a short story that she showed the teacher, and the teacher loved it so much that the teacher insisted on her reading it to the class. And it was like, I still remember it like moving most of us it was genuinely so freaking good at a young age. And I thought, well, that's just not me. So why would I even try?
Yeah.
My biggest regret is that someone should have smacked me over the head and said, no, this is still good. And this is good for a 10-year-old. So keep learning, keep growing, keep reading. Like, if I had started then, if I had continued then, where would I be today?
Yeah.
But then again, I don't regret the life experiences I've had, because those bleed into my stories now too. So it's been a journey. I think it could have been shorter if someone had just given me a good, come on, man, just try again, But yeah.
Well, you're still here and you're still doing it, and totally agree. Michael, who's just joined us at the last minute, hello, thank you for being here. With enough time and effort, anyone can write. I agree. I agree, for sure. And sometimes it takes people a little bit more effort. Sometimes you have to put in a different style of effort. Like, for example, if you have dyslexia, I was speaking fucking hell. That's not a good advertisement, is it? I have spoken to other authors who do have dyslexia, and they just have to adapt to work in a way that's comfortable for them, in a way that's possible for them. So whatever the barrier is that you have for not writing, in this day and age, in the year of 2026, I'm sure that there are tools that you can use. So don't let it scare you.
Yeah.
Just do it anyway. It was lovely to speak to you today. I got distracted by the chat for a second. I'm going to close it. It was lovely to speak to you today. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a long time coming. I can't believe it took me this long to get you on.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I know this was a blast, and no surprise there.
Oh, thank you. I'd like to make a formal apology to Sarah Arnu for your names. I'd just like that to go on record. I don't think that's going to fix anything. But I'm super pleased that everybody got to make it today. If you're watching the recording, if you're watching it live, I so appreciate you. If you don't follow this channel already, please do, because then that helps me to get these authors in front of more readers. So it's free as well. So just follow it. That'd be nice. You haven't got any other news coming out. 24th of April, come and watch Tim do a reading for the book selection box hosted by Sarah Arnu. And yeah, I think that's all the things that I'm supposed to say. So I'm going to wave now. And it's nice to see if Sarah doesn't accept my apology, and we're going to end it there. So goodbye, everybody. And I'm going to go grovel to my friend. Goodbye.
Cheers, everybody.